So is it all that we hoped it would be? Hey everybody, welcome back to Living Traditions Homestead. I'm Kevin and this is Sarah. And today we wanted to take just a few minutes to talk to you guys about something we've been getting a lot of questions about, and that is, how is the woven ground cover fabric working in the garden? As you know, this year we decided to stop doing the traditional back to Eden style gardening where you cover the ground with wood chips or some type of mulch, and instead we've turned to the woven ground cover fabric. And we were now, halfway through the growing season, and we thought we'd give you guys an update on how we think it's working out.
There are a number of reasons why we decided to move away from the traditional back to Eden garden method, using some kind of mulch or wood chips, straw, and move to this ground cover. And one of the main reasons for me was weed suppression. We just had out of control weeds here, and no matter how much mulch we piled on top of the ground, there were just lots and lots of weeds. And I'm not even talking just like standard weeds. We had some seriously invasive weeds here. I had poison ivy coming up all over the garden, which was really a dangerous situation for us. Wild blackberries were coming up everywhere, and trumpet vine. And no matter what we did, we just couldn't get those under control. All three of those weeds are very invasive. They shoot runners out underneath the ground, in some cases like 3 feet down, and there's no way that you can just pull up one and it goes away. They just keep coming up and coming up. And there was just really no way for us to keep those under control with just mulch. They were just popping through everywhere.
The second reason that we decided to move away from using a mulch and use the ground fabric is because we had an out of control problem last year with ticks in the garden. This part of Missouri has a big tick problem, which if you've watched any of our videos, you'll see oftentimes we're just standing around and find ticks on us. But in the garden last year, because we used straw, it just seemed to breed the ticks. Yeah,
they were just crawling up you, anything you were doing in the garden.
Yeah, it wasn't uncommon to come in from working in the garden and find, 10 or more ticks on you. And when you're out in the garden several times a day, first of all, it's a health hazard. We now know a couple people in our area who have gotten tick fever. And we also, you can't continue to just come in and out with that many ticks on you all day long.
Right.
Next year we plan on doubling the size of our garden. I was really worried about that when we were doing the wood chips and mulch and everything like that, because every time you expand, you're kind of starting over. And as you guys know who do back to Eden, it's a long process to build up a ground cover that suppresses weeds and all of that. And every time you want to expand, you're starting the whole process over. With this, we now know that starting from year 1, it will keep the weeds out, and that we can expand every year if we want to, and just go right on to having a better and better garden every year. So the big thing, and the reason we really used it in the first place, weed suppression. Is it really working for that? Well, the answer is yes.
Yes!
It's working amazingly.
It's so amazing.
In fact, we have had 0 problems with weeds coming up through the fabric. The only time we've had any weeds through the fabric at all are either right around the plants, where we've intentionally cut a hole for the plants, or where we've dropped something and accidentally made a hole through the fabric, and then you'd be amazed, even a tiny little hole, and a weed finds its way to grow through.
But that's really in hardly any places. I think we've picked maybe 4 or 5 weeds in the entire big garden that have poked up through a hole.
Right. So I mean, it has really done its job for keeping the weeds out. So far we've been extremely happy with the way that the fabric is working. There were a few things that we were concerned about before we actually tried it, and a few things that I know you guys have asked questions about, so we thought we'd try to cover those today. The first is, doesn't the plastic hold in too much heat. You know, when you're trying to kill an area out, a lot of times you'll use a solid black plastic down on the ground, and we've done that in the past as well, and that will just kind of kill everything in that area. Well, doesn't this do the same thing? And the answer is really no. I'm not, you know, exactly sure how it works, but I can tell you, I think it's because of the, you know, because it's woven instead of solid, but the ground underneath this plastic actually stays fairly cool, and it holds in a lot of moisture, and we've seen no effect of that heat, of heat building up and affecting our plants. We've had a very hot summer so far, and we see zero effect on the plants. Even the plants that are really close to the ground don't seem at all phased by having the ground cover down.
Well, and I actually am able to come out into the garden during the hot part of the day and work out here in bare feet. I actually prefer that, and now that we have the ground cover, it's easier for me to do that. So it really doesn't heat up as much as you think it would. I can be on my hands and knees, I can be walking along here in bare feet, and I'm not getting burned, so it's not getting hot, and we're quite surprised by that. Well, how about the water? Does the rain go through it, or does it pool and run off? We have been very, very happy in that way. The water and the rain goes right through the fabric. It's not instantaneous like you would think if it were just a bigger weave mesh, but the water does seep through and get into the ground. We've had no problems with that and have been very pleased.
Yeah, we can actually come out into the garden right after a rain. There's no pooling of water, and there's no muddy mess that there would be like if you didn't have any kind of ground cover down at all. So we've been very happy with the way that it works in the rain.
Right, it's keeping the vegetables, it's keeping the plants very clean. We're picking green beans, and the green beans are so clean. No mud on them, no backsplash. And like you had said, it's really nice to be able to come out to the garden right after it rains and not have to be worried about getting all muddy all over the place. And we actually have had a lot of questions about how long will this last? Will we have to buy it every single year? How many years will it be good for? And are we going to take it up every winter, or are we just going to keep it down? Well, this woven fabric is rated for about 8 years. In most cases, the manufacturer is recommending that you cover it with wood chips or some kind of mulch, and we're not doing that. So we are assuming that we're going to get at least 3, maybe 4 years, so half of that life out of this fabric, and that is fantastic. Are we going to take it up in the winter? You know, we haven't known the answer to that question, I think, until recently. We didn't know if we were going to leave it here or if we were going to pull it up for the winter. Just recently we had a subscriber who had this fabric in her garden, and she didn't take it up over the winter. And what she experienced is the wind blew in dirt and things would accumulate, and then over time there would be weeds and things growing from the top and the roots down, and basically it got incorporated into the ground so much that it was unusable and you couldn't rip it out. So after that wonderful comment, we have decided that we will be taking this up every year. And I'm kind of glad to. It'll give us an opportunity to do mass fertilizing with the rabbit manure that we use, and just overall be able to take a look at the soil and that kind of thing.
Yeah, it'll definitely be more work having to pull it up and pull out all the staples and everything else. But you know, no more work than it would be if we were to get, you know, a truckload of wood chips every year and have to spread those and everything else.
Much less work.
So yes, the answer is we've decided we will be pulling this up every winter, rolling it up, keeping it in the barn over winter, but getting it back down early enough in the spring,
right,
that, you know, we get it down before the weeds start to grow again.
Right.
So you guys, there you go. That's how we like the woven fabric so far in the garden. I know we've gotten a ton of questions. I hope this helps answer some of them for you. The short answer is we're extremely happy. Hey, if this is your first time visiting our homestead, we sure are glad that you found us. This would be the perfect time to hit that subscribe button below. If you're one of our traditionalists who comes back 5 days a week, we sure do appreciate you. If you know someone who would enjoy this video, go ahead and share it on all of your social media, give it a thumbs up, and leave your comments below. And until next time, thanks for stopping by the homestead. Take care, and God bless.
God bless.